It's not working. Why is that not working? Okay, there we go. Majo John Madden, in the Los Troncones neighborhood outside of Victoria, Mexico, and the locals, well, those are the Los Troncones section of the Sierra Madre Oriental mountains that run north and south through Mexico. The neighbors just refer to them as Los Troncones and mostly don't have the bigger concept of the mountain range that they are part of. And I've been, for 11 days now, pinned down in one of the bays at a mechanical shop out here having big work done to my camper van, and hope to get out today. I want to do a talk. I think I want to stand in the sunshine as I do it. So, a lot of water out here. This puddle fills and empties. We had big rain yesterday. I want to do a talk about male competition. Male competition can be really healthy if you're goading each other on like you want the other to do better. Let's both be our best and see how good we can get together. I used to play tennis with a guy who we battled. Oh my God, we battled tooth and nail. It was like, to the death on the tennis court. And afterwards couldn't remember who won. When his wife said, "Hey, who won today?" We'd look at each other and go, "Do you remember?" No, that wasn't the issue. It's just we wanted both of us to be really good. I was in a fraternity in college. We're talking 60s. 64 to 68, Loyola University in Chicago. Working class Chicago guys, ethnic Chicago guys, mostly. And they were good guys. They were all serious students. They were all trying to move ahead in class. They were pre-med, pre-law, pre-dent. Hard partiers, smart and funny. And their way of practicing Hell Weekend, which, I'm studiously avoiding the term toxic masculinity, because unless we have a comparable term for women, it's all out of whack. I think it would be the toxic, not femininity, toxic way of being a woman in the world these days among middle class, entitled white women is to try to dominate men. And it's been that way since the 80s, really, when it was just assumed by those folks that men are assholes. Toxic need to establish that you're the superior sex. So that's for another video. And by people who don't get it about men. Just don't bother to try to really get it about men. For example, that men do have a different wiring around physical violence, around competition, yes, and physical aggression, and that sometimes for a man to use physical violence, it can be appropriate or wonderful even. When I punched the racist guy in my building who was trying to humiliate my black friend and temporary roommate that I had taken in off the street, I couldn't let Eric hit him because Eric had a record. He'd go to jail. He was black and big and a street person. Me, a PhD, 76, 73 then, who had never thrown a punch in his life, I said, they're probably not going to do anything to me. That was a graduation for me, who grew up afraid of fighting. But the thing, my fraternity, the Teeks, who had just been written up in Playboy magazine as nationally the best party fraternity in the country, that chapter was so smart and so interesting, and they wanted each one of us to be all we could be. And when they diagnosed at Hell Weekend that I was not in touch with my aggression, that I was too nice, they were calling out probably the weak point in my development, period, that comes up again and again. So when they plotted to put 4 of them in a room with me at Hell Weekend and make me go through physical torture with the green chair, exercises that induce pain, and then finally to throw oranges at me, they wanted to make me snap. They wanted to push me until I could find my rage. And I did. And what I heard from my pledge father was that when those 4 guys went back into their meeting, they said, they were proud of me. They were really happy. They said, you should have seen that motherfucker. He tried to kill us. That was a good experience for me. That, ladies, if you can't understand that, do some research, okay? Because you don't get it. Why that was good for me. And why that played a role in me in my 70s being able to reach back and grab that. Now, some men are toxically attached to being alpha, and they just won't settle for both of you getting good. They have to be top dog. And there are times to just walk away from that. And what I have found since waking up is my term for what happened to me on June 26th of 19, when I let go of so much baggage, including 30 years of being diagnosed as bipolar, let go of so much baggage, was that I deepened my exploration of what I've always called the low road to higher consciousness, which includes the Freudian taboos of sex and aggression, which I say it's not a matter of finishing that stuff so you can get spiritual. That can be the path to spirituality. And learning to stand up for yourself, to have solid boundaries, like Brene Brown says, open heart and solid boundaries is her dialectic, can be thrilling, can be transformative. So I found myself after that experience on June 26th of 19 doing things like I went to Appalachia after the COVID hit Asheville, North Carolina, and roamed the mountains of deep Appalachia for a year. And us progressives in the city had all kinds of stereotypes about Appalachians, which mostly were absolutely erroneous. But I still had, at this point, it was early in my time there, and I was still a little scared of Appalachian guys. But I found myself, I was in a convenience store, and I said something that must have sounded to this guy just a little too city, a little too pushy, I don't know, because I always treat frontline staff great, because that was my thing for 16 years in Nashville, as frontline customer service. Treat them great. So it wasn't about that. But I could tell that he was teasing with the cashier about, yeah, city guys. He said something, I don't know what it was. But what I found coming out of my mouth was, you're not involved in this conversation, Jack. And when you want to push back and let a guy know that he's not going to push you around, saying Jack like that is very effective. And you know what he did? He very meekly said, my name isn't Jack. So it worked. Another time, I was way up in Elizabethton, Tennessee, was the far end of my range. And I was dealing with a guy who was 40, buffed, macho guy. And I was at that time dealing with a physical condition that had me going through weak spells. And that morning I had been so weak, I could barely stand up. But when he tried to push me around and said to me, oh yeah? Maybe I'll give you something you don't want. Insinuating he's going to punch me. And I got enraged and said, try me, motherfucker. And he backed the fuck off. He didn't know what the fuck was up. Yeah. Another guy, Sam, was riding with me, my first of 7 homeless waifs. And I kind of wanted her to know that I wasn't just a nice guy, that she had in me a big stick in her hip pocket. So I was outside of the van behind a bar one morning, pissing. And this voice, this guy having a smoke over on a rock, says, what are you doing with my fence? I said, I'm pissing on your goddamn stupid fence. So what? Then I walked off, and when I came back, I saw him still there, and I started to chuckle. And he says, oh, you think it's funny, huh? And I said, I think it's fucking hysterical. That was a good moment. That was a good moment. I feel happy. And there's been lots more since. There's been lots more since. Okay, bye.